If you're a gay man dreaming about retirement, a retirement abroad, Belgium may not be the first place that you think of. You know, Spain gets the beaches, Portugal gets the golden visa glow up, Mexico gets the I can afford this with a side of guacamole. Well, Belgium gets beer and waffles and beer and chocolate and beer and bureaucracy and weather that sometimes reminds you of central Pennsylvania that's been emotionally unavailable since 1998. But we want to say this, don't sleep on Belgium, because when it comes to LGBTQ plus retirees, Belgium has something that a lot of countries are still trying to figure out, and that is really strong LGBTQ plus protections. It has marriage equality, it has adoption rights, it has anti-discrimination protections, it has hate crime laws, and a long track record of supporting and working with the LGBT community to create rights. It also has excellent healthcare. And it also has great trains outside of Belgium if you want to visit the rest of Europe. And depending on where you land, the cost of living can actually be cheaper than many other big cities in the US. So today on Queer Money, brought to you by Optimize Investment Partners, more on that later, we are ranking the top 5 cities and towns in Belgium that give retirees the best mix of affordability, queer friendliness, lifestyle, access to outside of Belgium, as well as retirement fabulousness. And we're, of course, slightly overweighting affordability like we always do, because yes, everybody loves the rainbow glow up and pride, but we also love lower rents and the ability to afford our lives throughout the rest of the year.
Belgium is interesting because it's not necessarily a cheap country. It's not a live like royalty on $1,200 a month kind of a country.
I wish.
Right? But cities in Belgium may still be more affordable than many would assume, especially when you compare them to other major US cities. The better question is, where in Belgium can gay retirees find the right balance of affordability, safety, community culture, healthcare access, and just everyday joy? And that's what we're ranking today. But here's the problem with researching retirement abroad. People put countries into one of 2 buckets, cheap or expensive. So instead of giving you the most famous city, the city that you want to party in when you go on vacation, we're looking for the best retirement fit, including affordability primarily, LGBTQ plus safety and visibility secondarily, retiree lifestyle, healthcare access and transportation, and whether the city gives you enough joy to make the move and all of the paperwork worth it. So let's get started.
All right, before we kick this off, I do want to share that our touchstone city for this episode is going to be Philadelphia. Now, Philadelphia is known to be one of the more affordable big cities in the United States that's very LGBTQ inclusive. So just keep that in mind, that we're already starting with a city that is slightly more affordable than many big cities in the US. So our first city in Belgium is Leuven. Leuven is a centuries-old university city. So it's a very young at heart feeling city. It's walkable, beautiful, has amazing architecture and historic buildings. It's very lively, full of cafes. It also has an amazing beer culture, especially if you like beer. It is the home of Stella Artois, which is probably the one beer that all of us or many of us would know, especially because of the David Beckham commercials. But one of the things to keep in mind here is this is a city where every weekend you can go visit another brewery, take the tour, and get a free beer at the end.
Yeah, there are over 30 breweries, I think, in the city, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is crazy.
One of the unique benefits of living here is it is a very livable city. It gives you a compact, polished, and intellectual feel, but it still feels manageable. It doesn't feel like many big cities. And for retirees who want a slower pace of life without feeling isolated, Leuven has a real appeal. One of the downsides here is that it isn't a major nightlife hub for the queer culture, for the queer community. It is very progressive and welcoming, but it does lack some of the same infrastructure that for the queer community that, say, for example, Brussels, Antwerp, or Ghent may have. It also is a city where housing isn't dirt cheap. So it is still a safe and progressive city, but it's low key and it doesn't have big gay weekends like many other cities. It may be a better fit for couples or retirees who want easy access to some of that, like in Brussels, some of that big gay weekend or big gay community feel, but to live outside of it and be able to travel to it. When it comes to bars, Leuven does not have a dedicated, permanent, standalone gay bar because the local student organizations and student focused nightlife is very inclusive of the LGBT community. Queer Leuven does organize events that you can find on Instagram. There are other couple of organizations we want to call out. There's Leonardo LGBT International, as well as LGBT student initiatives that are run by KU Leuven, which is one of the big universities there. When it comes to your wallet, this is part of the reason why it's on the list. It comes in at around 24% cheaper to live there than it would be in Philadelphia, especially when you include rent. The average 2-bedroom starts at around $1,215. So the bottom line here is that Leuven is a strong fit for your more polished, compact, educated, safe-feeling cities than with lower costs of living than many major U.S. cities. But the queer scene is a little bit more subtle. And for all of that, we're giving it a Queer Money retirement rating of 7 out of 10. Now, one of the interesting things we did find when digging into the city of Leuven is that it has a library that has risen from the ashes twice. Now, Leuven's university library was burned to the ground in 1914 during World War I, destroying around 250,000 books, as well as hundreds of incunabula. I think I'm saying that right. And so these are leaflets or pamphlets that were created back when the printing press was first coming out. So you're talking about thousands of texts that they're no longer able to replace. But with international support, the library was rebuilt, but sadly then was destroyed again in 1940. But thankfully, it's been rebuilt a third time.
All right, next on our list is Brussels. It's the rainbow machine. It's the capital city of Belgium. It's the most international city on this list. It has the biggest LGBTQ plus scene and the strongest infrastructure for the queer community. This is where you'll find Brussels Pride, LGBTQ plus bars, queer events, advocacy, organizations, expat network, very European, very international restaurants, museums, flights, trains, and enough language flying around that makes Duolingo jealous.
It's the capital of the European Union. I mean, that's where all of the major European nations meet to discuss politics usually.
Yeah, so you have a lot of diversity. Mm-hmm. Diversity within diversity. The unique benefit of Brussels, though, is its access. If you want Belgium with the most resources, the most diversity, the most visible queer life, Brussels is definitely the city that you want to look at. You can live in a neighborhood like Saint-Gilles and Ixelles, or the city center, and be close to tons of cafes, culture, transit, nightlife, and community. Reality check, though, is Brussels is also the most obvious choice, which makes it the most expensive, busier, most bureaucratic choice. So Keep that in mind. Some neighborhoods are gorgeous, some neighborhoods are gritty, and you can experience both on one singular walk.
Right. And surprise, surprise, demand increases prices. We know that well in the United States right now, don't we?
Very much. And while Brussels is very international, housing demand is also very high. So keep that context in mind. As for the queer vibe, Brussels has the strongest queer infrastructure in Belgium. The queer scene is in the Saint-Jacques district. Did I say that right?
Saint-Jacques.
Saint-Jacques. It's where you'll go for pride, bars, events, activism, and more international LGBTQ plus community.
The neighborhood.
Absolutely. It's the easiest place on this list that if you arrive, you can quickly find queer community immediately. As for bars you might want to check out that for some reason caught our mind, Homo Erectus Bar stood out for some reason, Station, and La Réserve, which is actually the oldest gay bar in all of Brussels. So you definitely want to make sure you hit that. As for organizations, you want to check out LGBTIA Brussels and Rainbow House. Now, for your wallet, compared to Philadelphia, Brussels comes in about 16% lower when you include rent. An average 2-bedroom rent for an apartment starts at about $1,340 per month, depending very, very heavily on the neighborhood you choose and the quality of the building that you move into. Brussels is best for gay retirees who want the biggest queer scene, international feel, and easy transportation. But because affordability matters on this series, Brussels just does not make our top pick. It does, however, get an 8 out of 10 on the Queer Money retirement rating scale. The interesting tidbit of information that we found out about Brussels, though, in our research was that it's the birthplace of architectural living fabulously.
What's that mean?
And by that we mean Brussels is one of the world capitals for Art Nouveau, largely and thanks largely to Victor Horta, whose townhouses revolutionized domestic architecture with light-filled interiors, flowing ironwork, and open plans. 4 of his houses in Brussels are UNESCO listed.
All right, next up on our list is Antwerp. So Antwerp is stylish, and she knows it. And she's not wrong. Belgium's fashion city. It is known for its diamonds. It is a port city. It is an art city. And it's probably the most interesting urban place to live in Belgium. So it has some really, really cool art. One of the things we did find is this sculpture of a boy with his dog, and they're laying down, and the bricks of the street form a blanket over half of their body. It's a really cool, it looks really, really cool. It is one of the unique benefits of living here. It is probably one of the largest visible queer communities outside of Brussels. Reality check here, though. Antwerp is in Flanders, so Dutch or Flemish is language. You can get by with English in many situations, especially as an expat, but boy, you better learn the language, especially when it comes to things like integration and paperwork and healthcare, and not wanting to look like that forever lost American tourist like so many people who don't learn the local language look like. It's also not one of the cheap cities on the list here. It has that real LGBTQ scene, so it's home to one of the largest LGBT organizations in the world called Het Rozenhuis. Go ahead, bring it on, all of you gay bitchy polyglots. We know we do not speak Dutch, and we know that we're pronouncing these incorrectly, or at least we're trying to do the best we can. So it has this huge LGBT organization. So there is a lot of other activity there. There are gay bars, there's nightlife, there's a pride, and lots of community events. So for retirees who still want that visible queer community, but without having to live in places like Brussels, Antwerp is one of the best choices in Belgium. Some bars you may want to check out are the Boot Fetish Bar, Cut, and Hessenhuis. Again, not exactly sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. So, John did want to bring up that bar.
Yeah. So the Boot Bar.
Yeah.
One of us would be inclined to go to that bar. The other one would not be inclined to go to that bar. So let us know in the comments who you think would actually go to Boot Bar.
Yeah. Go. We'll post some pictures, G-rated pictures here, so that you can get an idea of what Boot Bar is like. When it comes to your wallet, Antwerp comes in cheaper than Philadelphia. As a matter of fact, it's about 21% cheaper, especially when you include rent, which a 2-bedroom is going to rent for around $1,340. Yes, that was similar to one of the other cities that we mentioned. Antwerp is a great pick for gay retirees who still want style and culture and community, and they also want urban life. It ranks higher than Brussels because of its stronger, more visible queer community, but it also is a slightly more affordable. So we're ranking this city higher because of that affordability. But it doesn't take the crown because there are still more affordable options with plenty of lifestyle appeal. So for these reasons, we are giving it an 8 out of 10 on the Queer Money Retirement Rating. One of the interesting things that we found out about Antwerp is its world famous fabulous old print shop. Now, Antwerp's, I think I'm gonna butcher this, but it's Planten Moretus Museum. It is a preserved Renaissance, or Renaissance, as the British would say, Baroque printing house that it is not only a printing house, publishing house, but it was also the family home for 9 generations of folks who worked there. It is UNESCO listed, and it's tied to Christophe Planten, who is one of the most important printer publishers of the 16th century in Europe. So this place goes way back. Mm-hmm. So you want to live in Europe? Well, why not also invest in Europe? Optimize built the Portugal Golden Opportunities Fund for more than just returns. They built it for freedom. Freedom to move about Europe, to retire fabulously, and include your family. It is SEC regulated, IRA friendly, and you can get an EU passport through this means within 10 years. Get the details through the link in the description of this video.
And then there's Ghent, which is the next city on our list here. Ghent may be one of Belgium's best sweet spots. It has canals, medieval architecture, a university, art, music, festivals, cafe, and a creative spirit that feels both historic as well as young. The unique benefit here of Ghent is that it combines beauty, culture, and inclusivity in a way that feels very, very easy to live with.
Kind of like you.
Oh, thanks. Ghent's also recognized as a UNESCO Creative City of Music, so that really tells you a lot about its personality. The reality, though, is that Ghent's super popular, and popular places are rarely super cheap.
There's that demand-supply thing again.
But I'm popular and cheap. Rents aren't the lowest here in Belgium. The student population keeps the city lively, but it also, in some areas of Ghent, can feel noisier and also younger. So some people are looking for that. And like Antwerp and Leuven, Dutch is the main language. So you're going to want to learn your Dutch, which maybe we need to learn our Dutch, David. We'll see. As for the queer vibe, Ghent is very, very welcoming. It may not have the biggest queer scene in all of Belgium, but it has a very inclusive, progressive, and creative culture. In fact, Visit Ghent says that that a separate LGBTI plus section is basically redundant because venues are welcoming to everyone. That's a very Belgian way of saying the whole place is gay friendly. Please calm down.
Right. They're serving up the, hey,
relax.
Chill, girl.
We did find a gay bar you may want to check out known as Adonis Gay Club. And then some organizations you want to check out are Queer March Ghent, as well as there's a gay gathering organization that you can find on Facebook. As for your wallet, compared to Philadelphia, Ghent comes in around 20% lower when you include rent. And the rents for a 2-bedroom apartment average start about $1,190 per month. So the bottom line is Ghent is one of the best lifestyle picks here in Belgium. It's beautiful, it's inclusive, cultured, connected, and still less expensive than many major US cities. For many retirees, Ghent may be the best balance of charm, comfort, and community. So why didn't it make our number one spot? Well, because we said we were slightly overweighting affordability, so that keeps it from the top spot. But we are, however, giving it a Queer Money retirement rating of 9 out of 10. Now, the interesting tidbit of information that we found out about Ghent is that it's home to the world's most stolen art pieces. Ghent's adoration of the mystic lamb, better known as Ghent's altarpiece, is considered one of the most important works of art in history, and Britannica notes that it was reportedly stolen, get this, 7 times.
People can't keep their fingers off of this.
Yeah, keep your mitts off. Also stolen by Napoleon and Hitler.
Boo.
Boo, right? So drama, but make it Renaissance.
All right, next up on our list is Liège. Liège is in Wallonia. This is the French-speaking part of Belgium, so it has a completely different vibe going on here than the Flemish cities. It's grittier, it's warmer, it's more affordable, it's more working class. French don't want to hear you say working class.
Middle class.
No, yeah. It's a more of a come as you are and bring your appetite kind of place. So Liège is known as La Cité Ardente, which is also what can be translated as the fiery city, and that fits because of a couple of reasons. The name stuck because it has had numerous rebellions. It was known for its steel furnaces that were being built around the turn of the 19th century, and now the warmth of its locals. It is a city with a lot of energy and history. It does have a lot of nightlife, markets, museums, river views. It is a great city with a great sense of identity. Probably one of the most unique features that Liège has is that it is affordable and it has character, kind of like me. For retirees who want Europe without paying the Brussels prices, Liège does deserve your consideration. It's not as polished as, say, for example, Ghent or Leuven, and it can feel a little rougher around the edges, which is fine. Some people really like that, but it does also have a queer scene, although it is much smaller than Brussels or Antwerp. As we've mentioned, those are two of the biggest in the country. Because it is French-speaking, you will want to learn at least basic French if you plan to live in this area, especially for daily life when it comes to things like going to the market, talking to doctors, filling out forms, talking to your landlord, and being able to order from a menu confidently, unlike an American who points at things or just demands everybody speak English. We actually know people like that, sadly. So if you're looking for a place that's slightly more affordable, this is the place to take a look at. But of course, when you're looking at affordability, oftentimes that can mean a desirability or differences in neighborhoods are apparent. So you definitely want to visit first to find the neighborhood that it fits for you before you make a complete decision. So when it comes to the queer vibe, it definitely has its infrastructure. There is an organization there called Maison Arc-en-Ciel de Liège. And I think actually it was one of the African countries we talked about on a couple episodes back also had a Maison Arc-en-Ciel organization. So, of course, as we did say, it's not the biggest queer scene here, but it's not invisible either. You get this smaller, more local queer vibe going on rather than maybe the transientness that you get in some of these other big cities. There are a couple of bars you want to check out. There's Moustache, or I think that's how they would say it in French, or Mustache Club. And then there's Club Gay Liège, which is a Levi Leathers bar.
Also let us know in the comments which one of us you think would go to that kind of bar.
What's up with this me versus him, the kind of thing going on in this episode? So I think that one of the things here is this is a city that has a lot of things going for it for queer retirees, because you have affordability, you also have culture. When it comes to the affordability, it is probably one of the most affordable on our list here. A 2-bedroom is going to start around $1,050, again, considering neighborhoods. Overall, we weren't able to find a specific comparison to Philadelphia, but based on a few of the things that we looked at, it's looked at directly city to city. Brussels and Antwerp, Ghent and Leuven were a little bit more expensive. So it does look like especially if you include the rent information here, Liège comes in generally a lot lower than these other cities. So it's definitely lower than Philadelphia, especially on the housing side there. So Liège wins because it gives gay retirees the best mix of affordability, culture, queer visibility, and it gives you access to other parts of Europe. It's not the fanciest, it's not the most famous, it's not the biggest gay scene, but for gay retirees who want Belgium without the big city ticket price, then Liège is the smart pick. And for these reasons, we're giving it a 9 out of 10. One of the cool things that we did find out about it is it has this train station that looks like a spaceship has landed. When I was looking at it and from various views of the train station, it reminded me of the train station in New York, Millennium train station, I think is what it's called now.
Yeah.
So it reminded me a lot of that. This is the Liège-Guillemon railway station. It was designed by Santiago Calatrava. He turned a transit hub into this modern architectural spectacle. He conceived of this as basically a link between two parts of Liège that were separated by railroad tracks. So it's an old city and it's a new city and it has a lot going for it, especially when it comes to your wallet.
So here's the truth. Belgium isn't the country you choose if your only goal is the lowest possible cost of living. If that's the mission, there are much cheaper places, and we've covered those kinds of countries on this series so far.
Alabama.
Belgium may be a strong fit if you want Western European infrastructure, LGBTQ plus legal protections, healthcare access, trains, culture, and a life that feels stable without feeling sleepy. So the real question isn't, what is the cheapest city in Belgium? The better question is, what trade-offs do I want? What am I looking for exactly? So what do you do with all this? Well, if you want the biggest LGBTQ plus scene, start with Brussels. If you want style, nightlife, queer visibility, go with Antwerp. Charm, music, culture, and inclusive everyday life, that's Ghent. Polished, walkable university town with a flair of calm, go with Leuven. And the best affordable to lifestyle ratio, as David said, Liège. And if you're looking for more affordable gay-friendly cities around the world where you can retire early, retire abroad, or just plain retire better, we've curated this beautiful playlist for you right here. So start there. And until next time, live fabulously,
not fabulously broke.